Hello?
Hey,
Hey, Nick, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm gonna be honest, let's break the ice. I'm a little bit nervous. First time on stream, a little bit nervous, brother. I'm an honest guy, I'm a little bit nervous.
Well,
People
I
made me
can
nervous for
understand
this.
that. It's kind of a risky stream, I guess.
But why? Like, why is this? Why is everybody so scared? I hit up so many people to do a collab. Everybody's saying, no, you're an idiot. Like, nobody. Shit, even Sneeko bailed on me, Nick. What's your thoughts on that one? On
Well,
Sneeko?
well, I'll say about Sneeko, I think he's a patriot, because he stood up when it counted. He was right there with me during Yay 24. He went to my rally last year, and I think he's a truth teller. He's been very outspoken about the genocide in Gaza lately, which is, to me, that's like the benchmark lately because they're
Yeah.
just slaughtering people over there. And there's all kinds of pressure for people to stay silent. He's been very outspoken. So I put out a post earlier tonight. I said, actions speak louder than words. So to me, Sneako's solid in my
You
book.
solid? All right. So just for people, I mean, most people do know you. My chat, they love you. I'm gonna be honest. My chat fucking loves you, bro. But I want to give you your. I want you to be able to give your own bio. But Wikipedia's bio. Would you mind if I read it first and then you explain yours? I'm
Go
not
right
saying I
ahead.
agree
Yeah.
with it, by the way. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it says here, Nick Fuentes is an American far-right political commentator and live streamer who is known for his white supremacist, misogynistic, homophobic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic. My bad, bro. I'm a little bit dumb. You get the point. They're basically just calling you every little thing. So what's your bio? Like, you give your own.
Oh, well, yeah, they say that about everybody. I feel like if you are somebody who's interesting or honest, they'll say, oh, you're a bigot, racist, sexist. I mean, it would be safe to say I kind of fit into that category, but um, I'm a loyal American. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how I describe myself first, is I'm America first. I'm a loyal American to this country. I'm
Hell yeah.
Catholic. I'm loyal to God and Jesus Christ.
Oh, so you're
And I'm a
religious?
radical.
You're
Oh, yeah,
religious?
absolutely.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yes.
So, and I know this is super. Wait, are you celibate? Somebody told me you were celibate.
Yes. Yes, I am.
How old are you?
25.
You never had sex.
No.
Good, bro. That's good. Congrats on that. Congrats. So, what are you? Are you? What are you
Thank
reserving
you.
for? Are you waiting for marriage? What is it?
Well, yeah, I'd like to get married and have kids eventually. For Catholics, it's a mortal sin. You can't have sex outside marriage.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm just trying to play by the rules.
Hell yeah, bro. So, is there anything you want to know about me? I'm not, the most interesting, but I'm just
Well, I
being
know a little
honest.
about you. How old are you? I know I
I'm
was watching
22.
your stream. Okay, you're 22. You're Bosnian, is that right?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to ask. Do you know about the Bosnian and Serbian War?
Vaguely. I don't know a ton about it.
Oh, you don't?
But I know the general strokes, yeah.
So what general strokes about it do you know? Because all right, I'm gonna be honest, and I won't get mad at you. You're a man. You have the right to have your own opinion. I won't get mad at you. My family told me that the Serbians were in the wrong with that war. What is your take on that, though?
Well, I think the problem is how that whole region is set up. The problem is that there's so much ethnic diversity, it inevitably leads to conflict. And, you look at these states, you have like the state of Bosnia, for example,
Yeah,
and you have half of it is one way, half of it is the Republic Srpska, where you have all these Serbians. It's somewhat autonomous. Kosovo in the north, they want to join Serbia, so I think that you just need like segregation. I think that you need to have Serbians live with Serbians, Bosniaks live with Bosniaks, Croats with
I
Croats, and so
agree.
on. That seems to me to make the most sense because when you have all those people smashed together, it's just set up, it's designed to fail.
Do you feel like what the Serbians did to the Bosnians was a genocide or no?
I don't know enough about it to
Okay,
say if it
all
was
right,
a
respectable,
genocide.
respectable. So, what are your? This is the main question my chat wants me to ask you. What are your thoughts on Jewish people, man?
Well, it's a complex topic, but I mean,
Yeah.
where I would start is what is a Jewish person? I'm Catholic,
Okay.
so Christians and Catholics believe that you have this Old Testament. A certain people was chosen by God, and they were supposed to be the vessel for a prophecy. And
Okay.
so there are prophets in the Old Testament, and they talk about the incarnation of God. God becomes man. Christians believe that that man was Jesus Christ. He's the Messiah. He came to save everybody from original sin and from the pain of the sins that we all commit in our lives. And he fulfilled and completed the prophecies. So what would you call a Jew then? If Christians believe that Christ came and fulfilled the Jewish religion, obviously some people don't agree. They still call themselves Jews. They live by the old law of the Old Testament. They descend from the Pharisees. Well, they're people that reject Jesus Christ fundamentally. So it's also a group of people that is an ethnicity, because you may have heard that there are people that are secular Jews. A lot of people think that Jew is a religion, and it is, but
Yeah.
it's also bound up with the ethnicity of Jews, because you could take a DNA test and someone can tell you you're Jewish. That's the basis for the right of return in Israel. A Jew can go to Israel, get a DNA test, and if they're Jewish, they get citizenship automatically, whether they're an atheist or they believe in God. So that tells us that Jewish is not just a religion, but also an ethnicity. And it goes all the way back to the beginning. And so I would say that I love everybody. I'm a Christian, which means we're called to love all people, people that are not like us, people that have a different religion, people that are a different race. But I would say this: Jews, if you read the gospel, it says that they called for the death of Jesus. I don't know how familiar you are with the gospel story, but you'll
Yeah,
hear it
not.
if you go to Easter Sunday Mass or Good Friday Mass. They talk about how it was the Jews who called for Jesus to be crucified and to be sentenced to death. And they persist thousands of years later, mocking Jesus, opposing Jesus, demanding that the state be separated from the Christian church. And so, in that sense, I oppose that religion. I oppose this religion because, and this is the last thing I'll say because I don't want to drone on and on. It is a big topic, though.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you need to understand about Jewish people is that Judaism and Jews, they're the only religion that hate Jesus. When you talk to Hindus, when you talk to Buddhists, even if you talk to some atheists or Muslims, they respect Jesus, they revere Jesus. Muslims believe that Jesus is a prophet. Hindus believe that Jesus was a great social teacher. Jews, in their Talmud, which is their religious text, they say Jesus is burning in hell. They say his mother is a whore. They say that he was a wizard, that he was a sorcerer, he performed false miracles. And if you look at their attitudes today, they're the only ones that have a complete contempt and antipathy for Jesus and for Christianity. They actually don't like Christians. So for that reason, I oppose their works. Now, I love them and I will them towards salvation. I want them to be Christians. I don't wish to harm them or injure them in any way. I'm not cruel towards them or prejudiced, but as a Christian, I have to say I oppose their influence in society. We need to have a Christian society, not an atheist or a Jewish society.
So, wait, do you have Jewish friends or no?
Yeah, I have several Jewish friends.
Oh, so why do so many people say that you hate them then? Like so many people say you hate Jews, but you have Jewish friends. I'm confused a little bit.
Well, it's like
Is
with
this media
anything these
marking it?
days.
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about any group of people, it seems like the only group of people that you can have anything negative to say about is white people. You can say white people are colonizers, white people are oppressors, white people can't dance. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you say something like, well, hey, black people commit a lot of violent crime. Well, you're racist. You hate black people. Okay. If you say women are emotional, women can't drive, like women shouldn't be the president. Oh, you hate women. You're a sexist. If you say Jews hate Jesus, which they do. Jews killed Jack Kennedy. Jews did this. Well, you hate Jews. It's like, well, how does that make sense? I was friends with Ye. I have some of my favorite people, some of the smartest people I think are Jews.
You're friends with yeah. Well, can you tell me your relationship with Kanye, if you don't mind? That's crazy.
So I haven't talked to him since last year.
Okay.
But we were pretty good friends for a time. I was at one point his only political advisor for about 6 months in 2023.
Oh shit.
I met him in 2022, and we had kind of an adventure together. It goes down in history. We met Trump. Yeah, but
met Trump. What
but
was
he's
it
a
like
great
meeting
guy.
Trump? How was it meeting Trump? Wait? By the way, what's your political views on like the upcoming election? Like who do you want? Like,
I love Trump. I'm voting for Trump. He's got to be the dictator of America.
Me too.
I want
I'm a
him to
Trump
be
guy.
president for life.
I'm a Trump
Let's
guy.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, the economy's pretty fucking shitty right now, man. Pretty fucking shitty right now. I'm kind of a normie, I guess you could say, because I just don't know too much about like, economy and like politics and all that. But I think you're an interesting guy, bro. Like, how does somebody get so blackballed? Like, how is that even possible? How do you get that blackballed, bro? I try to look you up on TikTok. You're gone. Twitter gone.
Yeah, my
Instagram.
name.
I couldn't
If you search
contact
my
you.
name.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
I don't know, like if people are gonna like get mad at me for this. I try to search your name, and there's a guy with a similar name that they're trying to like use to fill you in. I don't know how to explain it, and I just if I type your name letter for letter, it says you're banned. You can't, not even a hashtag, not a single video, nothing. You're completely blackballed off
Yeah,
TikTok.
well, it's like, there's that old expression to learn who rules over you, find out who you're not allowed to criticize. People say that's Voltaire. It wasn't Voltaire, but that's a good heuristic. The heuristic, the way of looking at it is that if you can't criticize somebody, it probably means they have power over you. Like if you go to your job, you can't criticize your boss. Why? Because your boss can fire you. If you're a kid, you can't say F you to your parents. Why? Because your parents are your boss. They can ground you. Similarly, if I go out tomorrow and say the Illuminati runs the world, no problems. If I go out tomorrow and say white people run the world, no problems. If I go out and say, the Trilateral Commission, no problem. China, no problem. If I go out tomorrow and say, hey, Jews run the world, oh, big problem. That's what happened to Kanye. That's what happened to Ye. That's how we met. Because he went out there and said, hey, Jews invented cancel culture, this and that. And then guess what happened? His agent pulled the plug. His banks froze his accounts. He got banned on Twitter. Couldn't get a lawyer. Adidas froze his money. Couldn't get a stadium. Couldn't get the sample cleared. It's like, okay, so I think we found out who we're not allowed to criticize. I guess maybe we can draw inference from that.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the whole chat is saying facts. Your banks are locked as well, right?
I've been banned from like 4 or 5 banks. Yeah.
That is insane. So what do you do at that point? Like, what do you do when everything is just you can't do shit?
Yeah, no, you can't. Unfortunately, you have no like civil rights when it comes to that stuff. I've been banned from Bank of America, Chase Bank, U.S. Bank. I mean, like some of the biggest institutions, I just have to hop from bank to bank. I start a bank account, they find me, they ban it, and then I have to move to another one.
Damn. So you've had 5. You had to go to 5 different banks.
More. Those are just the big ones. I've been banned from Chase Bank, U.S. Bank, Bank of America, Fifth Third Bank, Inland Bank. I'm banned from all payment processors. I'm banned from 2 airlines.
Oh my god. A lot of people in my chat, they want to know your thoughts. I don't know if this is related to this topic at all, but they want to know your thoughts on crypto. What do you think about crypto? Like, is that what you do?
I'm a
do you
huge
hold it in
supporter.
crypto? Huge supporter. I'm in crypto.
Oh, yeah.
I have every dollar in my name in crypto. I don't have $1 in my bank. Every dollar I have is in crypto.
That's smart because, I mean, look, the thing that they don't want you to know is that the government, they can log into a terminal, press a button, and delete all your money. Like, take it. That's what happened to me. I woke up one day, I had $500,000 in the bank, frozen. I called the bank. Why is my money frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can't tell you. I mean, it took me 2 weeks just for them to tell me what happened to my money. So, I mean, for most people, it's not a problem, but I mean, it is a theoretical problem.
You got the money back though, right?
Yeah, I eventually got it back.
I'll make it sure because that would have been crazy as hell. All right, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And sorry, man. I'm just a little bit rattled because people got in my head. I'm a little bit rattled. But they told me not to say this, but you seem like kind of a genuine guy to me, bro. I'm being honest. You seem kind of like a genuine guy. I don't see a problem. No reason to not like you. I don't ever hate people for their opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm polite. I think I'm like, I'm a respectful person, but it's one of these things where it's like, if you disagree with kind of like the fundamental like belief system of society, then they say you're a horrible person. And it's like, I don't want to kill anybody. Like, I'm not a cruel person. I'm not a mean person. But I just have a completely different idea, vision of how society should work. And for that reason, I'm on the outside. I think that, if you look at most Republicans or conservatives, they're not that much different than liberals because we have a dominant philosophy in the country, which is liberalism. It's like feminism. It's this egalitarianism, this idea that everyone's equal and we're all going to live together. And the poor people are so virtuous and all this kind of stuff. Like anything goes. Like, gay people can do whatever they want. Trans people can do whatever they want. Everyone can do whatever they want. It's a big free-for-all. I don't believe that. I don't hate people, though. I'm not want to kill anybody. Yeah. But if you say that, because I'm saying, conservatives don't really disagree with that. But if you really fundamentally disagree, then they say, well, you are a wannabe Hitler. You're a Nazi. You want to kill everybody. And it's like, that's just not true. But that's because they don't want people to think there's an alternative.
Yeah.
Want people to believe that the only thing there is what they're pushing. A liberal version of it, a conservative version of it. There's no other system that can possibly be entertained. Anyone that suggests it is a horrible, boogeyman.
Yeah, it seems like from what I'm seeing out of the streams, it seems like the general pop, like my general chat, like the normal, normal people, they all fuck with you. It's just like the mainstream media, such as, news and all that. Those are the ones that target you and hate the shit out of you, bro. I'm telling you, my entire chat is fucking with you right now. Like everybody. But it's like the mainstream media, I feel like, is the only one that targets you and hates you and says all this shit about you, all this, all these slurs about you and all that. Did you see the Ryan Garcia stuff happening, by the way, or no? What are your thoughts on that?
I did see that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how reliable that is. He seems
Yeah.
like, I mean, the thing is, he's touching on a lot of themes that are correct. Like there definitely is blackmail and sex trafficking that happens at the highest levels, but he seems like, I don't know that he's necessarily completely informed on that. Seems like he's just kind of having a meltdown. That's just I haven't looked into it too
Yeah.
much, but from what I saw, seemed like that was more of a personal issue.
Yeah, now this is a little bit more of a touchy topic. Well, not for you. I mean, you just say what you want. But is it true that you think the Holocaust is fake?
It's not that I think it's fake. I just think that it's exaggerated.
Okay.
And, because I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
Like October 7th, the attack on Israel. This is how I will explain it by analogy.
Yeah, go ahead. Say whatever
On
you want.
October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel. This is the recent event.
Okay.
And here's a perfect example. When that attack happened, they came out and said, oh, Hamas beheaded 40 babies. They said, Hamas has literally decapitated 40 babies, and we have the video evidence. And Joe Biden came out and said, I've seen it. Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, came out and said, I've seen the evidence. And like 2 months later, it came out that was a complete fabrication. It came out that it was basically like two stories that were kind of mixed together, where some people were beheaded by like shrapnel and they found like several dead kids. Someone embellished it, but overnight it turned into this narrative about Hamas beheaded 40 babies. There's no truth in it, but it was sensational. It was visceral. I mean, if you imagine that image, it's so shocking. You would want to say whoever is responsible for something like that must be buried. Like whoever would decapitate 40 babies you need to annihilate these people. And you have to think that that is sort of the intended effect. And there's a word for this. It's called atrocity propaganda. During a war, it obviously benefits Israel if their enemy is seen as a unredeemable or irredeemable, horrible person. If everybody says, hey, Hamas are the kind of people that kill babies, then that justifies anything that Israel does against them. That's called atrocity propaganda. I view the Holocaust in a similar way, because if you take a look around the country, there's Holocaust museums everywhere. They're popping up all the time. And the Holocaust is, by law, required to be a part of the curriculum. And they go into like a fourth grade classroom and they show 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, obscene graphic pictures of like emaciated corpses and all this stuff. In the last 40 years, there have been hundreds of films made about the Holocaust in Hollywood. What is the intended effect of all of this? I think it's meant to engender in people a profound sympathy for Jews. And it's supposed to say, if we criticize Jews, it could lead to a Holocaust. If there's certain negative attitudes towards Jews, it could lead to another Holocaust. And it's meant to make Jews out to be the ultimate victim. But if you look around, Jews are the most privileged, powerful group in the world. I mean, they are the biggest donors to the political parties. They run all the major talent agencies in Hollywood. They run all the major record labels. They run all the major Hollywood studios. They run the most wealthy hedge funds. Their political lobbying group, the Israel Lobby, is one of the most powerful special interest lobbies in D.C. So they enjoy extreme power, privilege. They're the richest ethnic group in America by a lot. They are 25% of the students enrolled in some of the Ivy League universities. 2% of the population, 25% of the students. They're not 25% of the highest achievers. They currently have 6 or 7 of the presidencies out of the 8 Ivy League universities. So they run the elite schools, which are, of course, produce the elites that go work in government and in business everywhere else. So they're so powerful, but yet there's this Holocaust indoctrination that says, no, they're the ultimate victim. And if you talk about it, if you acknowledge this, if you even just state these facts, if you start to count them, well, that's anti-Semitic. And anti-Semitism can never be tolerated. Why? Holocaust. Holocaust Museum. Look at the shoes. Look at the stripes. Watch this movie. Watch Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Watch Schindler's List. Go to the museum. Apologize. Give us $1 million. That's what happened to Kyrie Irving. That's what happened to Kanye, Mel Gibson, Michael Jackson, Henry Ford. Henry Ford before there even was a Holocaust. So, and I'll tell you this. Yes, Jews were killed during World War II. They were killed in concentration camps by the Germans. And it's not to minimize it, but a lot of people died during World War II. It's a fucking world war, okay? 100 million people died in World War II. Germans were put in concentration camps by the Americans. Japanese were put in internment camps by the Americans. Japanese raped and slaughtered Chinese in China. People were dying by the millions. But the only ones we ever talk about are the 6 million that died during the Holocaust. And to the exclusion of almost everybody else. Nobody talks about the 20-some million Russians that died ever when we use our propaganda about Russia in this current conflict. So not to go off on the subject, but, if people wanted to tell me 6 million died in the Holocaust, I'd say, okay, fine. If people want to say there were gas chambers, I'd say, yeah, I don't know if I buy that, fine. We have to question why it casts such a long shadow. It happened 100 years ago in a different continent. America had nothing to do with it. So why are we still hearing about it? And why can't we make our country great without hearing about it all the time? Trump gets up and says, make America great again. And the Jews clutch their pearls and say, he's Hitler. It's another Holocaust. Why? Because we want to make our fucking country great? But that's kind of a whole other rabbit hole. But the point is, people should really question why it has such this special status. It's almost like a religion. And last thing I'll say, because I'm
you're good, bro. I love it. I love it. You can ramble all you want.
If I go out there and I blaspheme the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, remember, this is a Christian country. It was founded by Christians. It's part of Christian civilization. Jesus Christ is God. If I go out there and mock in the most vulgar, offensive way the Lord God, Jesus Christ, I get celebrated. If you're Lil Nas X, you do a lap dance on Jesus. If you're those drag queens with the San Francisco Padres or whatever, again, you're a hero. That's so brave. That's artistic. But if I go out there and say, I don't think the Holocaust happened exactly the way they said it did. You're banned. You're a Holocaust denier. You're an anti-Semite. And it's like, okay, so one is literal sacrilege. If I go out there and commit real blasphemy and sacrilege against a real God, you're fine. You're celebrated. If you want to go out there and take a dump all over this religion, that's fine. But if I go out there and if I just say, well, I quibble with the details, well, that's because you hate Jews, and that means you're a Nazi, and that means we get to kill you for that. It's like, what? So it's elevated to like this religious level. I'm a Christian, not whatever that is. My moral compass is Jesus Christ on this side and the devil on the other. It isn't the Jews on this side and Hitler on the other. Let's get it straight.
Yeah.
And Hitler killed people. I wouldn't always defend Hitler with everything that he did, but it's like Hitler is not Satan. Satan is Satan. And the Jews are not God. Jesus Christ is God. So people need to remember that in public life. It's like, I think people have their priorities mixed up a little bit. People have no problem blaspheming Jesus, but blaspheme Israel, the Holocaust, the Jewish people, step out of line on that, you're ostracized, you're fired, you're done. Forget about it. That's wrong. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around.
Interesting. Wow. Well, I appreciate you for telling me all of that. Another question I have for you, okay? If you could return mainstream and take all this back, would you? Or would you still have air all this out, say what you want, get blackballed? What's your take on that?
No, I have no regrets because,
no regrets?
Here's the thing that people, and Kick is a young audience. I have a young audience. You're younger than me. I used to be the young guy. When I was the youngest guy in the room when I started.
Yeah.
But, what I learned over time is that The only thing that
Chad, give me good
matters
questions.
is your relationship and your faith with God. Everything else can be taken from you. The Lord
100%.
gives, the Lord takes away. Your health, your wealth, your family, everything that you have can be taken in an instant by chance, by death. It comes for everyone. We are just dust. And when you die and stand before God in judgment, the only thing that echoes in eternity past this life is your words and your deeds. Did you speak truthfully? Did you act in a moral way, in a loving way, selflessly? That's all that's going to matter. And so, a lot of
Chad, give me
political
questions.
people, there's like this classism in politics. I have a lot of friends in Washington D.C. and they run nonprofits and they make a lot of money and they're really prestigious. And they look at me, a lowly canceled streamer, and they say,
Mm-hmm.
don't you ever regret that you didn't do what we did? Now no one in politics likes you. Now no one in politics talks to you. But I think to myself, but that doesn't matter. When you stand before God, you don't take any of that with you. It's all gone. So we have to live for something. And the only thing that is actually even real are the fruits that proceed from a love of God. If you love God, you let go of worldly things, you do the right thing, and that's the only thing that really gives any lasting satisfaction. It's the only thing that's even real and that really matters. The rest of it's just bullshit. I mean, would we want to make a lot of money to live in like a more comfortable house?
Yeah.
What does it really mean? So that's how I feel about that.
All right. Okay. Cool. What is your thoughts on the Black Lives Matters movement?
That was all a bunch of nonsense. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and the thing is, I love black people, okay?
Yeah.
But they do commit half the violent crime in the country. Like, I live in the suburbs of Chicago,
Okay.
and there's an epidemic right now of carjacking. It's all black adolescent men, sometimes Hispanic, but mostly black.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason they go to jail. I'm against police brutality, but George Floyd was not that. Michael Brown was not that. Trayvon Martin was not that. I got pulled over the other day. I didn't get shot because I gave him my ID. All my papers were in order. I went on my way. It is what it is, and but a lot of them, it's like burn, loot, and murder. It's like kind of a boomer thing. It was like, fucking burn, loot, and murder is at
Yeah.
it again. The thing is, they're like anti-civilization. Look at what's happening in Haiti. They blame
Give me
white
another
people for
banger
everything.
question.
It's like, and I'd say this about Chicago. If you put the police in the south side of Chicago, if you had like Chinese style totalitarian facial recognition control over the south side of Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a real estate boom. If there was a guarantee that there's no violence in the south side of Chicago, investment would pour in. It would be a gold rush. So it's literally just about behavior. If black people were known to generally be extremely polite and courteous and friendly and orderly and followed the rules, everyone would love them. But the problem is that, like, what we're learning now that X is free of censorship is that a lot of them aren't that way. And that's why there's a lot of problems. So, I think that it's very anti-civilizational, and that's what you see in Haiti right now. It's like they always say, "Oh, well, it's because of slavery and racism." Okay, well, how about the first free black republic in the West, Haiti? How are they doing today? It's total anarchy over there. Where's the white person to blame over there? They say, "Well, colonialism." Okay, well, what about Ethiopia? Ethiopia is about to explode. I thought famously they were never colonized. What about Liberia? They said the same thing about that. So there's always a cop out, but at the end of the day, there seems to be kind of an intrinsic problem there. So, I wish them the best. I want them to be a part of civilization, not work against it.
Interesting. My chat wants to know about your thoughts on Derek Chauvin.
Oh, Derek Chauvin. He's the one that killed
Chauvin.
George Floyd.
Interesting.
I think he's innocent. He didn't kill George Floyd.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to give like why you think that? You want to tell them why you think that, or?
Yeah, I think George Floyd had fentanyl in his system. He was super high, and they always say these guys get thrown on the ground. They say I can't breathe. He was saying he couldn't breathe before he was even on the ground. So I think, and there were conflicting autopsy reports. It's been 4 years since all that happened, but I remember there was one autopsy that said, oh, he died of a cardiac arrest. Another autopsy said it was trauma. I think he died from a drug overdose.
Interesting. All right. All right. What are your thoughts about the LGBTQ flags in Christian churches?
totally wrong, and that happens in Protestant churches. It happened recently, I think, in a Catholic church because they lied. They said, "Oh, we're doing this funeral," and then they snuck in a bunch of gay stuff. But it's wrong. I mean, it's clearly contrary to natural law. Homosexuality is.
I'm with
So
you on that. I
I'm
agree
totally
with you.
against that.
I'm against it as well. I'm with you on that one. Um, Sorry, do you believe in the Jewish tunnels thing going on? I haven't like dug too deep into that, but what's your thoughts and your take on the Jewish tunnels going on?
We got to be nuanced about it because all we got from the tunnels, we didn't get any hard evidence that anything specific was going on. It is very weird, though, because there are all kinds of conflicting stories about how they dug these tunnels to evade the COVID restrictions. But yet then it came out that the construction began 6 months prior to their discovery. So that would have been way after the pandemic ended. And, that whole Chabad thing is very mysterious. For people that don't know, that's a whole rabbit hole. But these Chabad Lubavitch Jews, it's this dynasty of Hasidic Jews, they're all over the globe. They have an audience with Milei, who just got elected in Argentina. They have an audience with Putin in Russia, with Netanyahu in Israel. They were all over the Trump White House because Kushner was Chabad. So they're all over the globe, and they're very mysterious and arcane. And so it's suspicious. And the thing is about the Hasids is that there is a lot of pedophilia that goes on. There was a big report in Vice, which is not exactly like a Nazi paper, Vice News. 10 or 12 years ago, they did a report, and they said that it could be as high as 50% or more of boys in the Hasidic community are raped or sexually abused. And this was self-reported by rabbis and by Jews from the community. So there's definitely something strange going on over there, for sure.
Do you know who Candace Owens is?
Oh, yeah. I know
Do
Candace
you like
Owens.
her?
I love her. I think she's very brave. I think she speaks her mind. I don't agree with her on everything. I don't agree with
Mhm.
anybody on everything, but
Yeah.
she's been going really hard against Shapiro lately and this Rabbi Shmuley and some other people. So she's a loyal American. She's a patriot.
Interesting. Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, I gotta tap into her. Do you have any opinion on Andrew Tate and his brother's situation right now?
Well, I'm very critical of them because they do this webcam business, and I am so opposed to that. I'm like, think OnlyFans is the worst thing in the world.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
totally opposed to pornography and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. We really need a society where people get married and have sex.
I agree.
There's no hookups and casual sex and porn, and it's such a disgrace that like girls turn 18 and then they become basically prostitutes. Like the devil loves that. The devil has made your bed in hell, and he's just waiting for you, taking your innocence. It's sick stuff. And so I know they participated in that, and I'm very against that. But I do think the Romanian government is targeting them. I think that they have been targeted because of their politics.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Romania is a NATO country, and this is real. This is the meta right now. If you're a truth teller, the government just straight up goes after you now. Just take a look. Alex Jones. Alex Jones has a huge independent media network with millions of listeners. He's hit with $1 billion judgment from the Sandy Hook families. This is like crippling. This is paralyzing stuff. Donald Trump leads the march on January 6th. He's got this civil rape case. He's got the 2 charges from the feds, the charge in Fulton County, Manhattan. This is total lawfare. And lawfare is it's literally meant to kill you because it's so stressful and it's stressful for your family. It also drains your resources. They do this to everybody. Everybody that they have a problem with, they just hit them. They find these very creative prosecutions and they go after you. No doubt, Andrew Tate, who is the most famous person in the world for a minute, a couple of years ago, I think 2
Yeah.
summers ago, he was going out there supporting Russia, talking about election fraud. I mean, really exposing the lies, cultural phenomenon for the youth. And out of nowhere, he's been around forever. Out of nowhere, oh, now they throw the book at him. Really? They do this to everybody. So, I'm not the biggest fan of what they did before, but they are being targeted because they're truth tellers. And they have been especially patriotic lately, speaking out about the genocide in Gaza. And I seriously commend them for that because everybody else is huffing the Israel propaganda and they don't want to offend the Israelis. the Tates have been some of the most famous people that have spoken out about the pernicious influence of Israel in the United States. And for that, we're on the same team on that one.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. What's your thoughts on the Epstein Island thing going on right now? That whole situation.
Well, it's real. I mean, Epstein, if you don't know, Epstein dated Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay.
Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a Mossad agent. Mossad is Israeli intelligence. And
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein's actually related through Ghislaine Maxwell to Antony Blinken, who's our current Secretary of State. But in any case, that's just a fun fact, who's also Jewish. Jeffrey Epstein ran a blackmail ring. I mean, that's kind of the TLDR, is that he was probably financed by foreign intelligence to run a blackmail ring. So he invites all kinds of famous people. He plies them with underage girls, films it, records it, gets documentation of it, and then he traffics in the blackmail. And that's how they control powerful people. And this is something that goes on. There was, for example, 20 years ago, the Speaker of the U.S. House was a Republican named Dennis Hastert. He was a pedophile. He was like a gay pedophile. This was known to Israeli intelligence. Now, if Israeli intelligence knows that the U.S. Speaker of the House is a gay pedophile, that gives them a ton of leverage over him. And at any time, they can call him up and say, hey, Representative Hastert, hey, Speaker Hastert, we heard you're a gay pedophile. It'd be a horrible shame if this went out to the press. You better send us all the foreign aid that we want. And this is very reductive, but that is basically how it works. And the Israelis are known, they specialize in blackmail because different spy agencies in the world have different strategies. They are known for using blackmail, and that's how they control a lot of famous people. So you wonder, how did Jeffrey Epstein make his fortune? Nobody knows. You wonder, how did Jeffrey Epstein get an audience with princes in the royal family and government officials from the Gulf and Bill Clinton and all these people? Nobody knows. But yet, he was with them. Yet, how do you fall into $1 billion and there's no trace of it? That's kind of a difficult thing to do. It's because he was set up there so that he could attract powerful people and then get blackmail on them and then sell that blackmail or use it for whatever agency he represented. I think most plausibly is Israeli intelligence. And that's a whole, I could do an hour just on that, but that's a deep rabbit. No one wants to talk about that angle, though.
Damn, that is insane. What do you think of the Clintons?
I think they're evil. They are really in thick with the world government, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was great that Hillary Clinton was defeated because, they just represent the epitome of corruption in the United States. They're warmongers. The thing is, though, about the Clintons is they're just the face of it. And I think that's what people are starting to realize is Clintons, Obamas, these people don't really run things. And Putin said this in an interview a few years ago.
I don't know.
He said, this is how America works. Guy runs for office, says, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that, gets elected, goes to the White House, and then the NSA shows up. Then the lobby shows up. Then all the special interests show up in the suits, and they say, hey, pal, you got all these great ideas? That's really nice. Here's how things really work. Here's what we're really going to do. We're never leaving Iraq. We're never going to stop doing these things. The drugs will flow. The immigrants will flow. This is what's going to happen. So, talking about Clintons and presidents, this is like a facade that people are getting tricked into thinking is real.
Okay. So my chat wants to know, what is your stand on the history around the 9/11 attacks?
Well, everyone knows that 9/11's a conspiracy, more or less. Some people still believe the official narrative. But I believe that 9/11 was basically used to get America into war. Because whenever you see a huge attack like that, you always have to look at who benefits. There's always two questions you have to ask. When something like October 7th or Nord Stream or 9/11 or you go back to Pearl Harbor, the Kennedy assassination, whenever it's something big and sensational like that, there's two questions. Who's capable of carrying it out? Who benefits? In the case of 9/11, well, to explore what the motivation might be, what happened after 9/11? The United States, we were at the pinnacle of our power and prestige. No other country had been as powerful in absolute or relative terms in the history of the world. We just won. Finally, America was at peace. Everything was great. Now we're fighting in the desert for 20 years against 10 countries. We're in Iraq, we're in Afghanistan, we're in Syria, we're in Libya, we're in Somalia. We're everywhere because of 9/11. Who did that benefit? Israel. And here's the biggest red pill. This is all you need to know about 9/11. Everybody can Google the Clean Break Report. Clean Break Report, 1996. 3 or 4 authors get together. Douglas Faith, David Wormser, Richard Pearl. These guys all get together working for the Israeli government in 1996. This is a report commissioned by the Israeli government, and this is what they say. They say, hey, Mr. Prime Minister of Israel, these are the 3 things you need to do to secure the northern border of Israel. We need to destroy Iraq, we need to destabilize Syria, and then we need to destroy Iran. Now, I'm oversimplifying, but that's what the Clean Break Report said. This was commissioned by the Israeli government for the Israeli government. These 3 guys said, this is what we got to do. Iraq, Syria, Iran. We got to take them all out. In the year 2000, George W. Bush gets elected. All 3 of those guys go to work for George Bush. 9/11 happens. What happens next? We invade Iraq, topple Saddam Hussein, take control of the country. We destabilize Syria by funding the moderate Syrian rebels, and we and Israel create ISIS. We almost depose him. We invent these fake chemical attacks. What are we doing right now? What are we doing right now in Gaza? I don't know how much you're keeping up, but the audience knows or can look it up. We are now about to go to war with Iran. Israel is now fighting Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Popular Mobilization Force, all proxies of Iran. And they're drawing us into a war with Iran that will eventually lead to us toppling the regime. So that must be the biggest coincidence in the world. All these Zionist Jews get together and they say, hey, Israeli government, like these are our 3 ops. These are the 3 governments we're going to take out. 9/11 happens. They're all working in the American government. And then that's exactly what happens for the next 20 years. What a crazy coincidence. So the prime beneficiary of these wars for 20 years has been Israel, not us. We didn't do it for the oil. We didn't do it to spread democracy. The only benefit of that was that Israel is more secure. And the people that were pushing for it the most intensely were Jewish neocons in the press, Jewish neocons in the Pentagon and State Department, Jewish neocons at the think tanks, Jewish neocons that put up the money for the Republicans to win elections. Those are the people pushing this extremely aggressive foreign policy, and they could dress it up any way they want. But when we've been going to war for Israel for far longer than that, you could go back to the creation of the State of Israel. In 1948, when Israel declared its independence, our Secretary of State, our Secretary of Defense, they said, no, do not recognize Israel. It's going to make the Muslims hate us, and we need them. You know what happened a few weeks later? Our Secretary of Defense mysteriously committed suicide. He threw himself out of a window of the psychiatric hospital. And suddenly, we recognized the State of Israel 4 hours after they declared their independence. Truman, who was president at the time, was also receiving briefcases full of cash. Zionists were putting up the money for his campaign. Crazy coincidence. So, I mean, this stuff, it's like, and this is the main thing I want to say, or one of the biggest things I want to say. I didn't start out this way, okay? If I sound crazy or weird, I was like the biggest normie ever. When I was in high school, you can ask anyone I went to high school with, I watched Prager University, I watched Ben Shapiro. I made all the arguments they made. I was the same as them, excuse me. I'm like a normal guy. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. My parents are working class. They didn't go to college. Like I went to a pretty affluent white high school. I had like normal interests and hobbies.
Yeah.
But I started looking into this. And the one thing I kept waiting for is for someone to tell me why it isn't true. Because I knew all these people. Ben Shapiro knew me in 2017 before I wasn't anybody. And I kept asking all of his people, I was like, why do we send $3.8 billion per year to Israel? Why did we go to war in Iraq? Why? I kept asking why. And they kept saying, shut up, shut up, shut up. Okay, you're fired. Okay, you're ostracized. We're coming after you. And I kept expecting to find the debunk. I'm thinking, I must be crazy. This stuff sounds insane. I'm waiting for the punchline. I'm waiting for someone to tell me how it isn't true. Where's the facts? Where's the argument? And here's the problem. It doesn't exist because it's all true. And the more that you dig, the more of this you find. If you keep digging and you're perceptive and have intuition, if you're not afraid to see where it goes, you just find more and more and more. You find more names, more groups, you follow the money. I've been doing it more than ever lately. And on the contrary, not only am I not debunking myself, I'm scaring myself with what I find. Peter Thiel started the Stanford Review with money from Irving Kristol. So did Yoram Hazony at Princeton. That's esoteric. Now, my super political nerds are going to hear that and say, oh my gosh, J.D. Vance is about to be the vice president. He's like a son to Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel started Palantir, which works with the NSA. That's an esoteric one. I'm not going to explain all that. But it's like, I've been working at this for 7 years, and you start with things like, why does America give $3.8 billion per year to Israel? And then you go through 9/11, JFK, the 73 war, Michael Jackson. I mean, you go through all of it. It's like it's a bottomless pit. But where it really ends is at Calvary. Where it really ends is Jesus Christ on the cross, and who put him there, and why? Because it is a holy battle that's been going on for 2,000 years. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christian. It goes back 2,000 years to Jesus on the cross. And that explains this tension. It's Jacob and Esau, Rome and Judea for thousands of years. That's the story. But that's esoteric stuff.
Back to the Wikipedia thing, sorry. It said you're Islamophobic or whatever. Do you like Muslims? Like, what's your takes on Muslims? Like, what's your thoughts? Do you respect the religion?
Here's the thing about Muslims. I am a Christian, so I think they're wrong. Like, okay. I think Islam is incorrect. But I think that I'm not Islamophobic. I have Muslim friends, and I respect Muslims. I think they're pious. I think they're traditional. I think they have a lot of religious conviction. I think that's why a lot of people admire Muslims, because people look at America, and they're like, wow, Christians are just getting beat up all the time. Seems like Muslims have a little bit more conviction. You know, and so I do admire them in some sense for that. And I will also say that Muslims revere Jesus. So in a sense, there's maybe a little bit of camaraderie there. But yeah, so, and also they are, the big thing about Muslims, I think a lot of the anti-Muslim rhetoric comes from Jewish people. I think that, you know, I used to be very anti-Muslim. And then I realized, wait, why is Fox News pushing all this anti-Muslim stuff? Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a second. It's because Muslims are always bombing Israel. Like, Israel hates Muslims. Netanyahu shares a condo with Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch runs Fox News. Oh, that's why Fox News wants us to hate Muslims. So, you know, I don't hate them. I don't think they're taking over our country. I think they should be Christian. I think they should be loyal to America, but I don't, like, hate them.
Have you ever had anybody try to press you in real life over your thoughts and your opinions, or no?
Yeah, I've been pressed.
No way. What happens when you get pressed in real life? Like,
stand on business.
You stand on business? You stand on business?
I'm standing on business, man.
Oh, shit.
Well, thankfully, I've never been, like, beaten up or anything like that. Good. But, I mean, I've been confronted. It's gotten dicey. I'm not a big guy. Like, I'm not a tough guy or anything by any stretch.
You strapped up?
Well, I don't want to talk too much about that. But look,
yeah.
I can defend. I'll just say this. I can defend myself. I don't want, you know, the ATF doesn't need to know my firearms situation. But
I respect it.
Well, like, I'll give you an example. Like, a year ago, I did the stream with Sneeko. When me and Sneeko were working for Ye, we were at his office. We did a live stream from his office. Yeah. And we said, oh, we're going to In-N-Out Burger. So stupidly, we said that on the stream. We go to In-N-Out Burger, and there was like a huge confrontation. Like, people were eyeballing us. The second we walked in there, the place was on edge. It was about to explode. I'm sitting there, we're eating our cheeseburgers, and this girl launches a chocolate milkshake at us from the counter. It blows up on the ceiling all over me. So Sneeko's like, bro, chill. And me, you know, I'm like 5'9". I'm not a big guy at all, but I'm like Italian, so I'm impulsive.
Yeah.
So I pick up the Sprite, and I'm like, who threw that? I launch it back. But, you know, here's the thing about throwing a cup of liquid. You can't throw it overhand because it just, like, splatters. Because, you know, you got to lob it for anyone. So I just blasted all over this guy. And there's this huge guy standing in front of me. I just blasted all over him on accident. He turns around. He's like, hey, what the fuck? I was about to defend you. I'm like, chill. I didn't mean it. It was an accident, you know?
That's funny.
Me and Sneako's like, yo, we got to get out of here. So we just, we got out of there. But, so that was probably the closest I ever got to like literally getting murdered by like an angry mob. But thankfully, armor of God, I was protected.
Sweet. What's your thoughts on the COVID-19 stuff and the vaccines? I haven't taken. Are you vaccinated? I'm not vaccinated, but are you?
No.
Okay.
No. Do not take under no circumstances should people take the vaccine. Totally deadly. They just did this huge study. It says that vaccinated are more than 2 times likely to have myocarditis, which is heart disease, than unvaccinated, which basically vindicated what all the anti-vaxxers were saying. So I'm totally anti-vax. The COVID stuff was a hoax. They should have just let everybody get it and not lock down the economy. The real red pill is you just look at the stock market. 2020, when they did the lockdown, every company went like this, except for the top 5. Except for the S&P 5, except for the FANG companies, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, Meta, they all did better than ever before. So, I mean, the real way to look at COVID lockdown is as a giant wealth transfer. It murdered all these small businesses. All the Amazon, or rather all the business was taken up by Amazon, Walmart. So it's just like another step in globalizing the economy. It's like very terrifying trend. So I'm totally against it.
You seem like you talk about like damn near everything. Is there any topics that you like actually just would never talk about that you're scared to talk about?
No. I mean, at this point, I got nothing to lose. So I'm like, be kind of like dumb. It's like Holocaust denial, sure. Like 9/11, yeah. But this, well, I don't know if I'm gonna touch that. No, I'm pretty to my detriment. I kind of just wear my heart on my sleeve.
Is there any mainstream like social media that you're not banned on? Or are you banned on literally every single? Holy
Rumble.
shit.
That's the only thing I'm not banned on.
Rumble? You stream on there?
Yes.
Interesting.
But I'm banned on
Kick?
YouTube, Twitter.
You ever try Kick.com?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I just get banned right away because Zerka got banned, and I'm more political than he is. I mean, he's
but when Zerka
political.
gets banned, it's about like a 16-year-old and like pedo shit. He doesn't actually talk about like actual shit, I feel like. You know what I mean? I feel like he just tries to be red pill.
He got banned for like doing a Roman salute on a stream or something. So I don't, the problem is if I get banned on Kick, then they're going to call everybody and say, oh, you can't have Nick on your channel. So I'm like, I'll just avoid it. But I'd be open to streaming on Kick, but the problem is you just never know what the rules are. The problem is like, I would abide by any terms of service, but you get on any platform and they're like, oh, well, you're banned. Like, we don't like you. We don't like your politics. You're banned. So.
Okay. Do you watch any streamers?
Not particularly. I'm really just, I don't watch too much streaming. I'm just like read and.
Not even like the big ones like Kai, Aiden Ross, Speed, none of them?
No, I like Aiden Ross. I've talked to Aiden Ross before. He seems like a sweet kid. I mean, I don't think he likes my politics, and I don't agree with all his lifestyle decisions, and that's his prerogative. But he seems like a sweet kid, actually. He is. He is a nice guy. So I like him. The other stuff, I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't want to make an enemy out of Kai Cenat and these other guys.
Say whatever you want.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Okay, respectfully, because I don't know them and I don't want to offend them and I don't want to, create problems for you. But I look at like kids today, and especially white kids. There is a real epidemic of like white kids really drinking the Kool-Aid on black culture. And, and I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I love Ye, I love rap music. I'm really into the old stuff and all that. But I think that like white kids wearing sweatpants everywhere, I fucking hate that. White kids, they wear sweatpants and fucking slides everywhere. And it's like, I'm going to say something that's going to maybe turn people off, but it's like, what are you, black? Like, can you put some fucking shoes on when you leave the house? Can you put some real pants on? That's just like the most low effort. Like,
oh my God.
You might as well just wear a t-shirt that says, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care what people think. I'm going to leave the house in sweatpants and slides. Like, and when they say stuff like, sup, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. if I had a white son, I don't, but if I did, and my son came home wearing sweatpants and slides saying, "What's up? I finna do this." Oh, all right. I would slap the fucking shit out of him. I'd say, "Hey man, like
Oh,
you're white, buddy. You're white. We're part of a rich heritage. You want to wear fucking sweatpants? Put some pants on, man." So, we just have this culture now that's very loud and very ignorant, and I don't like that. I like a
Chad,
little
give me
bit
like
of it
one
because
more
we're
banger
American.
question.
We're brash, but it's getting a little out of control. There's no standards. Standards are collapsing. We need young kids to get excited about science. We need kids idolizing Elon Musk. One of the reasons I love Ye is because Ye is not just like another ignorant rapper. You see these rappers like Travis Scott and Playboi Carti, and they do these songs, and first of all, it's just the lowest IQ stuff. It's just like, fuck your bitch, and these stupid ad libs.
Yeah.
And they go on these talk shows. They're supposed to be rock stars. They go on these talk shows, and they're like shy. They're like shy, super low IQ, like, I'm like, this is who we're idolizing? Ye, I always idolized and thought was different because he actually thinks. He actually thinks about engineering and architecture and politics and stuff. And when he goes on a show, he's not shy, he's not ignorant. He talks in a way that is eloquent and coherent and high IQ. He talks about real things and he has real ambitions. Like he wants to change the world. People need to get on that kind of mindset. People need to look at Elon Musk and say, I want to be a rocket scientist. People should look at Donald Trump and say, I want to build skyscrapers. I want to be perfect at math. I want to know Mozart. I want to know these things. Not like I want to be some ignorant bum in sweatpants in a fucking parking lot screaming, yo, people getting in fucking fights. It's so like, America's collapsing, man. Standards are collapsing. We need to get better. We need to get real.
Just to backtrack, earlier you brought up how Kyrie like ended up speaking up. Did you see how he like basically completely cut it all off? Why do you think he stopped? Like he got because my brother watches you. I'm gonna be honest. My brother he likes you. He watches you, and he showed me a video. It was a podcast you did. It was like a girl and like four other guys, and one of the guys was bald as fuck. He tried to accuse you of some bullshit that there's no proof about. Basically make you look like a piece of shit with no fucking facts behind it. But what do you think about like the Kyrie? Like why did he completely stop that shit and go on hush mode?
Well, because they were going to end his career. The commissioner of the NBA is Jewish. The owner of half the teams are Jewish. He was pushing this documentary they claimed was anti-Semitic, off Amazon. And initially he came out and did kind of like a half-ass apology. And they literally yanked his chain and said, nope, not good enough. You got to give him, I'm not making this up. They said, no, your apology sucked. You didn't mean it. So now you got to give $1 million to the ADL. And you have to give this full apology. And we're going to give you this big penalty where you can't play in so many games. So I think somebody probably went to him and said, hey, do you want to like die on this hill or do you want to play basketball? And I'm sure he said, hey, I want to play basketball. I don't want to be a martyr. I just want to play basketball.
100%.
But that's how they control people. That's the conversation they had with Ye. They said, hey, do you want to be a musician and sell shoes or do you want to die on this hill? And Ye kept pushing, and so they pulled the plug on him. And, that's how they maintain control, because nobody wants to be a martyr. And that gets back to, what we talked about earlier, having any regrets. So, Kyrie, I get it. He's an athlete. He wants to play the game and all that. But, yeah, they totally just go to the ADL website and search in their search bar, search apology. And there's this pattern
search
where it's
up
like
what?
ADL.
Sorry, search up what?
If you search up the ADL website, ADL, search up their website and go to the search bar on the website and search apology.
Okay.
And there's a pattern where it's like ADL demands apology. ADL accepts apology. ADL demands so-and-so apologize. ADL accepts so-and-so's apology. They're like a gang. It's like a protection racket. They put out these demands. They're like, we demand that Ye apologize. We accept his... They never accepted his apology, but like Mel Gibson, Kyrie, all these people. It's like, who are these people that are making all these people? Like Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon said something anti-Semitic. They made him do a book report at the Holocaust Museum.
Jesus.
It's like, this is a grown man, and he goes to the Holocaust Museum doing a book report. Today I learned at the Holocaust Museum. It's like, really?
Kyrie's a flat earther, are you? Or you don't believe in that?
No, I'm not a flat earther.
Me neither.
Round earther.
Round earther?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any opinion on the moon landing and like NASA's proof about it that they made? Do you think it was fake footage? Do you think it was real?
I think it was real.
Hmm.
More than anything, I just like to believe in it because it's this idea that
Chad, we're about to wrap it
mankind could
up.
reach out and grasp the moon. You know, there's something so romantic about that, and that's really the essence of the European soul. Did you know that hundreds of years ago, the Chinese had the boats? They could have went out and
I'm
colonized the
gonna do one
world
more
like
question because I
Europeans
like
did.
that one, and then
You know, the history of the world, it's really China and the West. It's the Orient and the West. And hundreds of years ago, China had the boats. Imagine how different the world would be if China went out and colonized the Americas and Africa the way the Europeans did. But the Chinese destroyed their boats because they said, we don't need anything out there. We're the center of the universe. We're the center kingdom, and the world needs to come to us. We don't need to go out to the world. But the Europeans built the boats and they built the compasses and they reached out and they went to the Americas and they reached out in the domain of science and the domain of art and in the domain of human achievement. And that's why it was Europeans. That's why it was Germany that contributed to mathematics and chemistry.
yeah,
That's why it was Western Europe for the past 500 years that created the Western world. So we need to believe in striving. We need to believe in reaching out. We need to believe in humanity a little bit, not too much.
yeah. My chat wants to know what's your opinion on Elon Musk's, I don't know what this is, Neuralink project.
Well, that's where he wants to install the machine
Oh,
in your brain.
okay.
And I'm very skeptical of it because there's things that we don't understand about the mind. And it's sort of a
Chad, I
complex
got one more banger
philosophical
question.
problem. Everybody thinks that you have a brain, and your brain has chemical and electrical processes, and that generates what you would call consciousness. Like that's what everybody thinks. We have a brain, it's a wet organ, and there's electricity and chemicals, and those chemicals and electricity makes you yourself. It makes you think. That is what generates the mind. But I think that's wrong. I think there's a distinction between the brain and the mind. I don't think we'll ever understand the brain and the mind. And I think that all these attempts to like work out general intelligence and put machines in the brain, I think it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what the conscious experience even is. I think that, but that's kind of a complex philosophical matter. Maybe people have heard about it before. It's the brain and, which proceeds
Yeah.
from which. But so I don't believe in any of that stuff.
One of my last questions for you, man, is why do you think the LGBTQT movement is getting pushed so much in Hollywood, especially towards kids? And like, who do you think is funding all of this? What's your whole take on that?
Well, a
Sorry,
lot of
Chad,
it
I'm so
is
brain dead.
Jewish people. Okay, that's just true. It is also a lot of white liberals. But the problem is that they are atheists. I actually, contrary to what a lot of people like, if you say you're anti-gay, everybody thinks that you're like some super Protestant.
No,
They
I'm
think you're like
anti-gay.
some
I'm
super.
anti-gay. I don't like gays.
Well, me too. But what there's like a stereotype that if you're against gays and homosexuality, that you're like some fire and brimstone Protestant. It's like a very specific image people conjure in their mind. I think that homosexuality is just like a very horrible vice that probably human beings tend towards. Because it has existed. It has existed in pre-modern societies. It's existed in Japan, in the Middle East, in Turkey, in Europe. And so I think it's just an extremely sinful tendency. And I think that without Christianity, if you don't have moral law, people just do whatever they're inclined to do. And people are inclined to do all kinds of heinous things. They're inclined to abuse themselves with drugs or alcohol or suicide or all kinds of pathological behaviors. People are inclined to abuse others with murder, rape, brutality, cruelty. And I think homosexuality just fits in that category. So I don't really, I don't necessarily believe there's like a gay agenda to make everyone gay. I
Yeah.
think that these are just profoundly evil people. I think a lot of them really believe. I mean, maybe there's well-meaning people that believe in it. Certainly some people are pushing it because they want to groom children. Let's not pretend that's not going
Yeah.
on. That a lot of homosexuals are pedophiles. By the way, there's a huge overlap. A lot of people don't understand that. It's like part and parcel. You get like males who are attracted to males, and pedophilia, it's like this. It's like fucking butter and toast.
Really?
That's just the statistics. If you look at the pedophilia statistics, it is very few men that are attracted to little girls. It's almost all guys attracted to little boys. And it's just part of, always has been. It's called pederasty. It goes back a long time. And, but that's also the spirit of the Antichrist, perversity in general. So I'm sure there is a real phenomenon of homosexuals that are pushing this because they want to groom children to be sexual so that they can have sex with them. Case in point, so many of them turn out to be pedophiles. So many drag queens and, gay activists we're finding out turn out to be pedophiles. I think, though, broadly in society, that is just kind of the state of nature that people revert to. It's just total degeneracy. That's why everything is so degenerate now, because when you don't have like guardrails, when there's no morality, people just do anything. That's why there's so much drug overdose. That's why anything goes. There's so much stealing, disrespect, crime. I mean, we're really such a morally degenerate society in every way. That's one example. So I could see there's a little of both happening.
My chat wants to know, so what is your knowledge on all the all-white elite parties and clubs like the one that Michael Rubin hosts? If you know who Michael Rubin is, I'm sure you do.
I don't know Michael Rubin. What's the all-white elite party?
I mean, shit. Well, I'm not very smart. He's apparently some like very, very, very powerful rich Jew, and he hosts these parties with just straight A-list celebrities. You gotta be top of the rank to go to the party. They dress in all white, all that. You're not familiar with
No, I
that?
haven't heard of that. I haven't gotten to that red pill yet. No.
I saw that you said, and by the way, I'm not judging you for this. I don't give a fuck. But you said, having sex with, you've heard this before, but having sex with black people was the same as having sex with dogs. What's your thoughts on like interracial relationships and things like that?
Well, so I didn't say that. If you go, the clip is out there, but no, it's fine because this is what people do.
Yeah.
So not you. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the setup so people. First of all, I'll say the quote was, somebody asked me, some girl said, "Do you think having sex with black people is the same as having sex with dogs?"
Yeah.
And I said no. I said, but they're both degenerate, meaning they're both wrong.
Okay.
For white people to race mix.
Yeah.
Now here's the setup. I go to the Leadership Institute, which is this like nonprofit think tank in Washington, D.C. I'm there all day. I'm there all night. It's the last night of this like 2-week job training. It's me and like a group of half dozen people. It's like 3 a.m. We're having a conversation. There's this long conversation about my feelings on interracial relationships. I'm against interracial relationships. I think if you're black, you should marry a black person. If you're white, you should marry a white person. You're Asian, you should marry an Asian person. Those are my values. Well, this girl, I'm saying this freely. This girl pulls out her phone and starts secretly recording me and says, "So, do you think that having sex with blacks is the same as having sex with dogs?" I don't know, I'm being recorded. I said, "Well, no, but they're both wrong."
Yeah.
And it's a 7-second clip. Now, this girl sends it to this now converted Jew who tried to get me fired at my previous job because I was anti-Israel, and she sends it to Media Matters. And Media Matters is like the biggest hit piece mill for conservatives. They basically generate a lot of this anti-conservative slander. And now, every time there's a news article about me, they include in their blurb, Nick Fuentes, who said this. But it's like, that's how it works. If you, for example, don't believe that interracial relationships are good, well, then we're going to secretly record you. We're going to take it in the worst possible way in a 6-second clip. You didn't know you're being recorded. Send it to this. And then every time you get mentioned in the press for the next 10 years of your life, we're going to put that in the lead of the article. But that they traffic in that kind of smear. So it's like, you can't talk about me without them pulling up the greatest hits of like, here's every 5-second clip where there is sort of like an unfortunate sentence that came out. So, but I don't support interracial. I don't think they're immoral intrinsically.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're good. I think that people should I think they should stick with their own.
Okay, cool, sweet. Have you, because you obviously talk about whatever you believe in, have you ever been approached by like an elite, let's say an elite, and like been offered money to be like silenced and stop doing what you're doing? Has anybody tried to stop what you do or no?
Yeah, many times. I mean, they don't come up to you and say like, "Hey, well, we'll kill you if you don't say this." But there have been a few occasions, like one time when I was just getting started in 2018, this guy approached me and he's like, "Oh, I'm an agent," and he showed me his like LinkedIn or whatever, and he had some pretty big clients. And he's like, "Well, I could be your agent." I was like, "Oh, that seems interesting. Yeah, let's talk further." And he goes, "Yeah, I just saw your show. You're gonna have to tone down this Jewish stuff, otherwise I can't help you." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna do that." He's like, "Okay, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you." And I've also had many people have tried to handle me in my career, where they try and become my best good friend, and then they say, "Hey, let's try to focus more on hating black people, and let's try to focus more on like the racist stuff, and let's
Yeah.
just not talk about Jews in Israel. Let's talk about how immigrants are evil and they're the problem, and black crime is the problem. Let's just not talk about Israel so much." And every time I rebuff that, and it turns into a big thing, and then you realize like they cast a long shadow. It's an octopus. Their tentacles are everywhere, and that is how they operate. They're okay with you talking about anything. You can, and look, if you are black or you are Muslim, it is okay for conservatives to talk shit about blacks. It's okay for conservatives to talk shit about Muslims, about trannies, about gay people, about any of that stuff. They will not let you talk shit about Jews ever. What does that tell you? Like, you could be as racist as you want against Asians in conservative media. You could dress up as an Indian and say, "Oh, look at me. I'm defying the cultural appropriation rules." Isn't that, Steven Crowder will do 100 bits wearing an Indian headdress or, whatever. That's all fine. They'll say, "We could destroy Islam and Muhammad's a pedophile," but that's fine. But if you go out there and make fun of the Holocaust or Jews, oh, off with your head. Death penalty for you. Game over. It's messed up, but that is 100% how it works.
Damn. Do you believe in the Illuminati or no? Do you think it's like a distraction or do you think it's an actual like thing?
Well, it's real. I mean, if you look at the Illuminists, the Illuminati comes from illuminate, which is light, and of course that comes from the Freemasons and the Enlightenment. And who was the light bringer in the Bible? It was Lucifer. Illuminati, luminous, Lucifer. Lucifer is the light bringer in the Bible. The Jews believe in Lucifer. They do pray to both God and they also pray to Lucifer. This is esoteric Kabbalistic Judaism, and they believe that evil is a part of God. So they think that good and evil are in this duality, and we can do some good actions and we can do some evil actions to achieve the repairing of the world. And if you look at Freemasonry, high-level Freemasonry, what is a Freemason? It's a free mason. What's a mason? A mason is a builder. It's a builder of structures. The Masons worship Solomon. King Solomon built the Jewish temple in the Bible. So it's a cult basically of Solomon. I mean, there are all kinds of medieval guilds, and you have all these different kinds of craftsmen and artisans. They come together and they basically form unions. The Masons, who understand sacred geometry, which is math, they understand architecture, they get together and they create their Freemasons. They build, but they don't work for anybody. And they practice this sort of like cult of Solomon, who's like the first builder. And Solomon, they believe in this sort of occultic history. Solomon worshipped all of the deities of the Middle East. Solomon, as king of Israel, had all of the different tribes in the Middle East come and trade with him. He was the first international trade center, and he would worship their gods in order to facilitate trade with them. And they say that he was given a ring with the seal of Solomon, some say is the Star of David, which is on the Israeli flag, which he would wield to control the demons. All the demons are the deities of the different Middle Eastern religions at that time. So the Freemasons base their quasi-religious practices on Solomon, which is esoteric Kabbalistic Judaism. And so if you go to the highest levels of Freemasonry, the 33rd degree, they have you do all kinds of things that are based in the Jewish Talmud. It's all based on King Solomon. It's about, I don't know the specifics of the rituals. You can look them up. They've been exposed before. But it's all about, demons and wielding black magic. And it all goes back to the first kingdom of Israel. So the thing about the Masons, the Illuminati, it's not really separate from that. And the Masons will tell you that it's all based on the Kabbalistic tree of life and the Kabbalistic creation story. So there's a very intense overlap between the occult, which is Kabbalah, and Jewish power.
Interesting. Do you know who? Because my chat keeps they want me to bring up this topic. Do you know who the? Because I don't know this. The Rothschild family is. Do you know anything about them?
Yeah, they're a Jewish banking family.
Okay. Is there something bad?
And they
Like,
go
what
back,
about them? Yeah.
yeah, they go back hundreds of years. They financed, when Mel Gibson said Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world, he's basically talking about the Rothschilds who gave credit or, bought the debt of both sides of different European empires that went to war. But the thing to understand about the Rothschilds, so they're this banking family, and Rothschild means red shield. I think they start out in Germany. And
Okay.
basically, they go out into all the European banking capitals in medieval Europe. So they go to Paris, they go to London, they go to Amsterdam, they go to Rome. And the strength of their banking network, the reason they were so successful is because, of course, Jewish people can go and live in any country. Back in those days, if you're German, you're not going to go and live in France because you're German. You believe in Germany. You speak German. That's where your roots are. That's your historic homeland. That's where your ancestors are. But the Jews are stateless. They don't have at that time a country to call their own. That's before Israel exists. They're a diaspora people. They're scattered all over the world. So the Jews are everywhere. They're in France, they're in Germany, they're in London, but they never assimilate. So they never fully become English. They never fully become German. They never fully become French. They retain their Jewish identity. They retain their language. They retain their religious practices. They're segregated from the rest of the population. They have their own courts. They have their own laws. They follow a rabbi in their community. They're segregated from the rest of the population. So the Jews go out and they set up this banking network in all of the great world cities. And so that's how they can trust each other because they're all brothers, but yet they all live in different places, but yet they have no allegiance to the places they reside in. Their allegiance is to their tribe, their stateless tribe that's all over the place. And that kind of tells you how they operate, which is that, they're all over the European capital. They handle the lending and they handle the tax collecting and some other things. And then when the European countries colonize the countries of the world, the Jews go to all the colonies. So then they go from Portugal to Brazil, and they go from London to America, and they go from London to India, and they go all over the world. And this is how they're able to gain an advantage in international trade because, they go to Brazil and they call up their cousin in Portugal. And they say, hey, I trust you. Let's do a deal. Let's start international trade. And so this is how they've really been at the forefront of international banking and trade for almost the entire modern age.
Jews are the richest type of people in
And
the world, right? They're the richest.
yes, yes, and most
Aren't
powerful.
they one of the smallest populations too?
Yeah, they're 2% of America. They're a fraction of a percent of the world, and yet they wield this immense power in the West because of their history there.
That's crazy.
And
Oh, sorry to cut you off. You go.
no, no, yeah, go ahead.
Last question. I don't want to take too much of your time. My chat really wants to know this. I don't know what this is, but if you could answer for them. Do you have an opinion on what happened with the January 6th Capitol situation?
Well, yeah, I was there, so I have very
Okay.
strong feelings about it. I mean, I think that there probably were feds there. That's the big narrative. Like Darren Beatty is an excellent journalist. He's at Revolver, and he's done a lot of great work on this. All the credit to him, exposing how at the January 6th riot, there were a lot of provocateurs. There were probably people there who were agents. I don't know of whom, what intel agency or what they represented. But there were basically people there dressed up like protesters, but they were there to instigate. They were there to kind of create mayhem. And there's a lot of evidence for this based on, who has been charged and who hasn't been charged, and the story about Ray Epps and some of the footage about the DNC the morning of the Capitol situation or the day before. I will say, though, a lot of it was just a riot. I mean, there was a straight up riot on January 6th. The thing that people don't realize, though, is that this is kind of like the natural conclusion of 4 years of Trump. Because if you really take it back, it goes all the way back to the beginning. We get lied into the Iraq war. We get lied into free trade. We get lied into opening our borders. And for the last 30 years, America loses its manufacturing because of NAFTA and all these free trade deals. America loses its identity because the borders are open. Illegals are coming in. Legal immigrants are pouring in. They're changing the character of the country. And we're lied under false pretenses into Iraq. They said there's weapons of mass destruction. So they're basically wrecking our country. In 2008, Obama gets elected, basically resisting a lot of this stuff. Obama gets elected saying, I'm going to bring back the auto industry. I'm going to end the war in Iraq because it's a failure. Mission accomplished, you know? And guess what happens to Obama? Obama tries to end the war in Iraq, and they rug pull him and they say, oh, not so fast. Here's ISIS. Now you got to stay in Iraq forever, and you got to bomb everybody else. And they make him bail out the banks. And basically, Obama is defeated by the deep state. So then Trump comes on the scene, and Trump says, this is bullshit. Like, we got to turn the whole thing upside down. Free trade has destroyed our economy. Immigration's wrecking our country. These wars were a mistake. Even more radical, he gets elected. What do they do to Trump? Everything possible to sabotage him. The fake Russia investigation, the fake Ukrainian impeachment, they spy in his campaign. His own White House subverts him. The GOP leadership in Congress subverts his agenda. So basically, the American people are saying, we don't want what you're giving us. But they keep thwarting these elected leaders. In a sense, they thwarted Obama. They thwart Trump for 4 years. After 4 years of bullshit that Trump has put through, they overthrow him with the fake election. They put on the COVID pandemic. They change all the voting rules. And then, in 2016, 35% of voters voted by mail. In 2020, 70% of voters voted by mail. Okay? So it doubled in 4 years because when they have the COVID pandemic, they changed all the rules. It used to be that they didn't want people voting by mail because it's subject to fraud. In 2020, they sent a ballot to everybody. They solicited ballots. They sent every registered voter a ballot. And they said, hey, we're putting your ballot in the mail. Drop it off whenever you want. Drop it off a month before the election in an unsupervised drop box in the middle of nowhere. What could go wrong there? Consequently, it's the biggest turnout ever. It's 150 million votes, more than ever before. Biden is the biggest vote getter out of any candidate ever. Trump is the second biggest vote getter out of any candidate ever. And it's a completely rigged election. They do like a mathematical ballot analysis in the swing states. People went down there. You saw the videos. They're covering up the walls in the stadium in Detroit so people couldn't see what's going on. Totally rigged election. And then the Trump supporters try to go through the legitimate process to overturn it. It was Republican state legislatures in all the swing states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. And the Republican state legislatures refused to overturn the election or audit the ballot. There's a whole article about it in Time magazine about how there's a grand conspiracy to prevent the Trump supporters from legally overturning the election. Finally, on January 6th, this is like the last date in the Constitution, procedural deadline before Biden gets sworn in, and Mike Pence betrays Trump, reads out all the votes, and finally, I think a lot of Trump supporters are like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, what else are we supposed to do? We tried everything. Obama said, win an election. Okay, we won an election. They tried to rig it against Trump in the primary. In the general, he won. In spite of him winning, they rigged it in Congress. They rigged it in the White House. They investigated him. They went after all his associates. Then they rigged it with this bullshit mail-in ballot thing. Then there was this great conspiracy to prevent us from even auditing the ballots. It never took place. There were recounts, but no audits of the ballots. So I think finally people were like, you know what? Like, what the fuck? We can't even talk about it on Twitter. Like, not only did the elections not make any change, like these are rigged. It's the primaries are rigged. It's all rigged. And if we want to complain about it, well, now Twitter is censored too. So I think finally people are like, okay, like you're not hearing us. And so in that sense, I think that, while there was some element on January 6th that it was provocateurs, I think a lot of it was righteous indignation. I think people should be kind of proud of it in the sense that it's like, fuck Congress, fuck DC. This country is getting, I don't know if you could say rape on here, but this country is getting raped. It's getting raped every day. Like the inflation, the crime, the border, it's all going to shit. Nothing changes. We get censored if we speak out about it. And I think January 6th was like this Boston Tea Party moment, basically. So that's why I'm like, I'm proud of January 6th. I'm proud of the fact that it happened.
Damn. Well, Nick, I appreciate you, bro, for coming on this. Like, I genuinely, I appreciate you. I appreciate your fans coming in. They've all been positive. This whole chat, the whole time, has been positive about you. I don't know if you'd be interested to do another one of these sometime. I definitely got to do
Yeah.
research because my brain level is way down here, and I trust me, I'm gonna get better at it. I'm gonna get better at it. But I appreciate you, man. I really do. If you're down to do this again, you just, I don't know how to contact you because you're banned off everything. But my manager has your contact info somehow, so I'm sure we could do something again if you'd want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It was great talking to you. You seem like a guy. Chat was great.
Hell
Your
yeah.
your manager's great. So I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. And hey, don't take anything I'm saying for face value. I encourage I'm not here to preach or whatever. I'm just here for people to ask questions and they can do
Yep.
their own research. I don't want it to come across like I'm like bullying you or whatever.
No, no, no.
I'm just telling you my side of the story.
Hell yeah, bro. I fucked with this. Like, I actually want to learn a lot more. Hopefully, would you be down to do a stream again sometime soon?
Absolutely, yeah,
Fuck
totally.
yeah, dude. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you again. Thank you to all your supporters, and you have a good one, man.
Thanks a lot, man. You
See
too.
ya.